It's TommyTopdecker back in the house once again with another video just for you. And today, folks, we're here with part 3 of our special series about diversity, equity, and inclusion on the Magic the Gathering reserve list. And you know what, folks, when you hear about Magic the Gathering, when you hear Wizards of the Coast, do you think they are an inclusive company? Well, if you take them at their word, if you take them by what they say that they are inclusive. But is it true, folks? Are they really inclusive? Well, let's take a closer look. So I've gone ahead with collaborating with Stanford University. We've gone ahead and compiled a full list of every reserve list card here. And you can see it starts from Abeyance. It's sorted by alphabetical order. At the top we have Abeyance, and we scroll down to the very bottom here, and we see at the very bottom we have Zuberi Golden Feather. So that's 571 cards on the reserve list. And surely, since Wizards of the Coast is such a diverse company that supports inclusion, I'm sure they've gone ahead and included cards of all different types, right, folks? Because that's what an inclusive company would do. They'd include cards of all types on the reserve list, right? That makes sense, right? Well, let's take a closer look at that. So if we look at all the artifacts on the reserve list, starting from Acidic Dagger all the way down to Xelon Sword, there are 95 artifacts on the reserve list. Okay. That seems pretty inclusive to me so far. Okay, that's all right. Now we look at creatures. Okay, creatures, starting with Aberoth, all the way down to Zuberi Golden Feather. Okay, 232 creatures on the reserve list. All right, that's a lot more than artifacts, but I'd say that's so far so good. Maybe you should include more artifacts, but okay, fine. I understand that creatures are more popular. And then we go over to enchantments, and all the way here we got, a bunch of enchantments. Yawgmoth's Bargain, that's a classic one at the very end here. And you see that 127 enchantments. All right, that's pretty much on par with artifacts. Fine, sounds good to me. Instants, all right, only 38 instants. All right, that's a little bit low. So Wizards need to do a better job getting instants on the reserve list, I'd say. Some classics like Ancestral Recall, yeah, but only 38. Okay, 38, fine. They have work to do, but I'm not going to call them out for it because I think 38, that's reasonable. Okay, fine. Sorceries, starting from Acid Rain all the way down to Yawgmoth's Will, all-time classic, 43 sorceries. All right, we could use some more. We have land. We have 45 lands, and that's actually not too bad because there aren't that many lands, special lands in Magic. I think there are fewer lands than all other card types probably. Definitely fewer lands than creatures. So you have 45 lands on the reserve list. That sounds okay to me. So, based on this data, I'd say that Wizards of the Coast is doing a good job at inclusion, right? Because the reserve list includes all different types of cards, right? We saw it includes artifacts, it includes creatures, it includes enchantments, it includes instants, it includes sorceries, and it includes lands. So that's pretty good, right? Good job, Wizards of the Coast, with your inclusion, right? Right? Well, you know what, folks? There's something we left off here. And it's pretty sad, doesn't make me happy to say this, doesn't make me happy to point this out. But the truth is that Wizards of the Coast have been lying about their inclusion. Because you know what, folks? There is another type of card. There is a type of card called Planeswaker. And you know what, folks? Let me tell you how many Planeswalkers are on the reserve list. Do you know how many Planeswalkers are on the reserve list? I will tell you, folks. It is 0. There are 0 Planeswalkers on the reserve list. In the year 2022, there are 0 Planeswalkers on the reserve list. So for Wizards of the Coast to come out and say they are an inclusive company that cares about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and then they have a reserve list that has 0 Planeswalkers, how does that happen in 2022? You talk about, black coaches in the NFL. 1 or 2 black coaches in the NFL, How many black owners are there? 0. How many Planeswalkers are there on the reserve list? 0. Okay? Wizards of the Coast. This is a major issue, and I'm calling you guys out, This is not okay. It's not going to stand with TommyTopdecker. TommyTopdecker is going to call it like it is. And you know what, Wizards? You screwed this up so bad that, I can't even say how bad this is right now, man. This is a disaster, all right? So, Wizards of the Coast, if you truly care about diversity, equity, and inclusion, then you need to open this gate and include Planeswalkers on the reserve list. It is not acceptable. It is not acceptable to include 95 artifacts, 232 creatures, 127 enchantments, 38 instants, 43 sorceries, 45 lands, and 0 Planeswalkers. That is not acceptable in the year 2022. So Wizards of the Coast, you need to fix this right now. Open these gates, add some cards to the reserve list. I'm not saying you need to add only Planeswalkers. You can add some creatures, you can add some enchantments, you can add some sorceries, you can add some lands, but you must add Planeswalkers. What you're saying right now is that Planeswalkers are not worthy. You're saying they're not worthy of inclusion. You're saying that inclusion is not important, and this is just not going to fly with me, and it's not going to fly with the Magic the Gathering community. So Wizards of the Coast, you need to get on this right now. You need to get on this right now and fix this, because this is a major wrong and it needs to be fixed. And you know what? You can tell me that you make some excuse like Planeswalkers weren't around in 1994 or 1894 or 1776, but you know what? That's a terrible excuse. I'll tell you why. Because when the reserve list was written, maybe people made mistakes. But you know what? You're carrying over those mistakes. It's 2022 now. And guess what? Planeswalkers exist. And guess what? Planeswalkers should have equal representation. They should be included in the reserve list if you care about inclusion. So you need to go and fix the mistakes of the past. You need to include Planeswalkers on the reserve list. So, folks, this has been a very serious video. And, I'm getting kind of emotional here. So I think we're just going to stop it at this. But let me say, folks, if anyone from Wizards is watching, you need to go change this right now. All you guys go email Wizards, tell them to get some Planeswalkers on the reserve list, because we're not going to stand for no Planeswalkers on the reserve list. This has been TommyTopdecker talking about inclusion, part 3 of the video series on diversity, equity, inclusion, Wizards of the Coast. If you care about inclusion, open this gate. Add Planeswalkers to the reserve list. It's been TommyTopdecker, and I'm out.